And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to Giangelo's. It's the Raider Coach's Corner. I almost put player profile.
Both.
Could be a player profile. With David Rach, everybody. Hey, let's give it up for Giangelo's, the staff, Frank and Lynn, and everybody here at Giangelo's, allowing us to come in week after week and invade their space. We're at Giangelo's here off of 224. And, Coach, a big win against Salem last week. I mean, it was the mercy clock was on for the second week in a row. For you guys, I know I've asked this question time after time after time. Is it hard to kind of play with that and get new guys in, protect your other guys, protect your starters and things of that nature?
Sometimes I think it's a fine line, right? Like you want your first groups to get as many reps as possible without obviously putting them in harm's way or being reckless about the subbing. This week was a little bit easier because we had the shutout going, so I think it was easier to keep some of the older guys in there longer and let those defensive guys go ahead and chase a shutout. But I think it varies week to week, and some of it is contingent upon what your opponent's doing. If they're subbing early, I think it's right to go match them. But they left their guys in, and we left ours in quite a bit.
It was funny. You and I kind of discussed things off the mic last week, and you said, listen, this is a Salem team that's going to come in with their hair on fire. They're going to play you hard, and then you just kind of wear them out. We saw it against Poland. We saw it against you guys. But that Salem team has a lot of potential to be good and dangerous later on this season. Yeah,
I agree. I thought, and I'm not intimately familiar with their program. I've seen them play over the past couple of years, but I thought defensively they were really good. They played hard. They caused some problems for us in some of the movements and some of the stunts that they were doing. And then offensively, I thought they had a good plan that they were patient and stuck with. They were trying to run it at you and be physical. And I thought in the pits they did a really nice job, which is obviously one of those things. If you can play in the pits, you're going to have a chance most weeks. So I think as the season progresses, that's a team that we're going to look back and say was a good win for us.
One of the biggest concerns going into week 2 was the flags, the amount of penalties that we took in week 1. I mean, assess give a grade for penalties and things of that nature. Did it get better? Is it the same?
Yeah, I think we had 5 for 35 this past week. So I actually went through the past 8 or 10 years, and ironically, the most penalized season we had was the 22 season, which
stack them up, throw all the flags.
Well,
we want another one of those.
Yeah, but so 5 is about the number we're normally at, so it was kind of back to normal. A couple of them again were what I would consider to be physical penalties, which I'm probably more okay with those. When there's holding and that kind of stuff. That stuff happens when you're trying to run the football. Still a couple procedural penalties that we've got to continue to get cleaned up and make better decisions and be a little bit more poised at the line of scrimmage. But it was a point of emphasis last week, so I'm really proud of the progress we made there.
Take me through your grading system for each week. You get grades, whether it's just special units or a team as a whole. Every coach has their grading system. What does yours consist of?
I try to look at it. I try to break it up: offense, defense, and special teams. Because to me, complementary football is one of the keys to championship football. Right? I thought offensively we were better. We're still not as explosive as what we would like to be over there, but I thought we were pretty efficient. Defensively, obviously, can't get much better than shutting a team out, which was good. And then I thought for the second week in a row, I thought we were pretty good on special teams. I guess we set up a score, on the opening kick return for the second week in a row. I thought that was a score that we set up, and then they were explosive. And I think perfect on the PATs is a big thing at the high school level, so that was good to see. I thought we were good over there. Again, I thought we played much cleaner this week than we did in week 1, and you would hope and expect that to be the case. You should see a big jump from week 1 to week 2, but still plenty of work to do, in all 3 phases of the game.
Talk about special teams. Luke was kicking off, and we saw a lot of kind of squibs. Is that planned, or what is that?
I think it just varies week to week. I mean, obviously every team's got their most dynamic playmakers deep. Through 2 weeks, we've seen 2 of our 3 deep guys either go to the house go to the house. One got called back this past week, but we're not unique. Everyone's got their best guys back there. So you try to keep the ball out of their hands, and then just structurally, you try to find some weaknesses in the way teams are set up and try to get the ball bouncing around and make them make a decision and try to protect the ball as best they can.
Conversely, the other side, the game opens up with a kick return to the house from Tristan. I mean, the excitement, and then you see the flags on the ground. For you, what's the state of emotion when you see a big play like that to start the game, and then you look and you see some dirty laundry?
Yeah, it's obviously exciting anytime you take a kickoff to the house, especially the opener. It's even more exciting. Seeing some laundry on the ground is obviously a bit of a letdown, but it still was a huge play for us. If you would have asked us, in pregame, are you okay with starting your first drive on the plus 20?
Yeah.
We would have signed those papers. So
Okay.
even though the score didn't count, I still consider it to be setting up a score. And we have a lot of guys playing some different positions this year than what they've played, historically. And in order to buy us some time until those guys get really comfortable and clean, we have to continue to win small ball and do a great job on special teams and try to be finding ways to make explosives outside of just always from scrimmage.
You mentioned some of the guys playing different positions than they're used to. How much kind of chain can you give them in a situation like this when you're trying to do stuff and you have a condensed schedule? You got 10 weeks to do it,
yeah.
But you have to have patience, but you also have to have a little bit of push to as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate in the kids that we're coaching. They understand the importance of getting better, and they're the first ones to say, "Hey, I screwed this up." So obviously that doesn't mean we're not gonna jump on them and let them know, when they are wrong. But they do a great job of improving from week to week, and I think part of it, like you said, you do have to be patient. Just understand that there's no substitute for experience, and just playing a lot of football doesn't necessarily translate to playing a new position. So the guys that we have that have made some position changes are doing a great job, and part of it too, I think, is just chemistry, right? We have a lot of guys that specifically on the offensive line and the defensive line haven't played a ton of football together, and so it's gonna be a continuing process as they get more comfortable together and continue to thrive.
He is loving it. Well, I don't know what he's got. Is that a straw?
Yeah,
David, you got a straw?
Yeah, he's all pumped up to
My
go back
dude,
to school tomorrow.
He is wrapping up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Playing for the Steelers.
He is playing for the Steelers.
My kind of player right there.
Don't tell his mother.
I got drafted. Z got drafted to the Cardinals, so we're trying to make sure he doesn't follow that team.
Yeah, right.
We're either Raiders or Steelers in our house.
Yeah.
So, for you, I mean, to see so many of the younger guys get in, to be able to evaluate them, that's got to be a plus for you guys, right? And
yeah.
The game's a little faster at the varsity level, being able to put your JVs in and get them valuable experience. What things are you looking for when it's late in the game? And is it just playing hard? Is it, knowing what they're doing? What kind of things and evaluations do you have to go through with them?
Yeah, I probably sound like a broken record, but I want them to compete, and I want them to play the game the right way, and those guys get reps in practice too, and they're being taught the same things that our older guys are being taught. And, while their reps might be more limited in practice, you still want them to go in and put the things that we've been working on, into play on a Friday night. And I think they've done a good job of doing that. There's a certain way that we expect them to play. And whether it be a Saturday morning or a Thursday afternoon or a Friday night, under the lights, we expect those guys to go play like South Range Raiders.
There's an expectation for us, too, up in the booth. And I got to tell you how proud I was of you. There was a moment in that game on Friday night where a young man didn't feel so well, and he had a moment of weakness. And
yeah.
I looked down, and who's cleaning up the field at Rominger Stadium but David Rock? Coach David Rock cleaning up the yak.
I have kids, so I've had some practice.
I was just going to ask you, all those diapers, all those moments that they're cleaning up after your kids, for that moment, what was it like to know that I've been training for this my whole life?
Well, I'm going to push back. Otherwise, my wife is going to call me out. I am way, way behind in the changing diapers department
diaper
compared
count?
to she was, and cleaning up spills and cleaning up everything around the house. So she's definitely the head of the household in that respect. But, yeah, no, I just, I knew we were waiting to get the game going until it was cleaned up, so I figured throw me a towel and we'll get it out of there. I have a pretty strong stomach.
She said you do the diapers, you just don't clean up.
That's true.
That works. This week we moved to Barberton. I mean, this is a team D2, right?
Yep.
That we're looking at. We're playing up 3 divisions. There's a lot of people with an 0-2 Barberton team that could look at this and say, okay, well, South Range is just going to go in and do what South Range does. But this is a different week. This is a bigger – these guys are large.
Yeah.
Rather large. What challenges face the Raiders this week?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head by kind of pushing back on that narrative, right? I mean, some of the outside noise, and we try to ignore it as best we can, and we know we have to, but some of this outside noise about them being a poor team is, I don't know, it's confusing to me. This is a team that was 6-4 last year in Division II, playing against a really tough schedule. They win their first playoff game, then they lose to Akron Hoban. So the list of teams around here that want to go sign up and play Akron-Hoban is 0 teams long. I'm just telling you, there's nobody around here that wants to go dance with Hoban. So, this year, they start out 0-2, but they've played Wadsworth and Stowe. Last week they lose to Stowe 35-21, and you can see as you start jumping up in the in the divisions and the size of schools, just the number of players that they're pulling from, you start seeing some really good physical talent on the field. And it's obvious with those guys, I think, at the line of scrimmage, they're big and they're strong and they're athletic, and in the back end, obviously, they have some guys that can hurt you. So we have our hands full. We know our hands full. We're going to have a great week of preparation if we want to have success. And, the good news for us is through 2 days, I think we've done that. So
scouting report on Barberton this week?
Yeah, you know what? Defensively, they're pretty multiple. I think they're very athletic defensively, and they have a nice plan. I think the back end is really good, and probably a back end that we don't see a lot of weeks, just in terms of what they can do athletically, and they make a lot of tackles back there. So it's going to be a challenge for us. We're going to have to remain patient offensively, knowing that it's going to be hard to really pop them. And then offensively, it's interesting. They struggled in week 1, and they struggled the first half last week, and then they got some things really rolling in the second half last week. So, we're kind of torn in terms of we're not really sure what to prepare for defensively, and it's hard. When you're playing a team from an hour away, you don't see as much film just week to week, even highlights on YSN we don't see as much of. So, trying to do as much research on them as we can, but you can tell just watching on the film that it's going to be a great challenge. 2
guys that we're going to talk to tonight are going to be integral parts of this game this Friday. You've got Aiden Dominguez and Heath Kraus. So when you think about these guys and how the X's and O's factor in, you got 2 guys that have motors that just don't stop.
Yeah, no, those guys, they're obviously talented guys that can really play, and have had, a pair of really great off seasons. I don't know that they missed a day, from, December and through the season. So they've done a great job leading us in their own unique ways. Obviously, Heath's a pretty quiet guy, and and Aiden's the most happy-go-lucky guy on the face of the earth. So, but they're great leaders for us, and obviously great players that have played a lot of football, and we're going to need them to continue to lead us moving forward.
What's great to me is you look at this. These are 2 guys that they're generational. You've got they have brothers that have been in this system and been extremely successful. For you as a coach to coach that, do you ever have to kind of tell them what they need to do, or they're already prepped? They know where they need to be, where they need to go.
Well, they make it easy. To coach them, and we have a lot. We're fortunate. We have a lot of guys like that have had older brothers come through the program, and those 2 especially. When you look at what JD's done, and what Dylan's done, and Ethan did before him, those guys understand, what the standard is, and obviously they hold those guys accountable, and they did a great job of leading them growing up, and I'm sure, doing the things that big brothers do when they were growing up. So, they're tough cats, and and obviously they've been raised the right way, and they play the game the right way.
I can't imagine that Aiden Dominguez wasn't roughed up by his older brothers, maybe even Sophie on the way up. So.
Yeah. Well, those guys got to be careful because the big cat's getting pretty big. So,
let's take it off the field. Obviously, we talked a little bit about David playing football.
Yeah.
Is it a challenge? Is it as challenging to you as it is to me to watch your son play and not try to interject yourself, or is it easier? Can you take it easy?
You know what? When I'm watching them practice or watching them play, I'm in 100% dad mode. I'm just sitting there and watching, and then after the game last week, we had a nice talk on the way to the car, and I always I'm trying to say, hey, what's your coach asking you to do, and do you think you did a good job? And just trying to be supportive as a parent, and also supportive of the coaches. I don't know anything about flag football, so
that's a little bit, my friend.
I'm learning. Well, I know
how to run that
film
camera.
Yeah, but that's about it. I'm trying to learn it, but no, it's been a great experience. Just something that something that we're both passionate about, and getting to watch him go run around and have fun with his buddies, and it's been great.
Is it? For me, it's a little bit more challenging. I sit here and I can talk about it on my shows and say, hey, there needs to be separation between parents and coaches and their kids. But for you, that's you kind of got to walk a fine line, right? Because you're kind of like, okay, I want to talk to the coaches, or the coaches want to talk to me, but there's that degree of separation.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really lucky in that, my parents, I started playing football when I was really young. And, if I would have come home and said, hey, my coach doesn't know what he's, or something like that, my parents would have let me have it, So they were I was kind of raised where my parents were very supportive of coaches, and I try to do the same thing with Dave. And, I'm not there every practice, and I didn't sign up to coach. At the end of the day, I have a hard time saying, hey, you should do it this way if I'm not the guy that signed up for the job. So I trust his coaches. I'm sure they're doing a great job, and they're in it for the right reasons. I know nobody's getting rich coaching flag football, so they're doing what's best for my kid and helping to raise him.
Well, championship setting, you might have a coach sneak over near you and say, hey, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
but, Coach, congratulations on another
Thank you.
victory this week. Congratulations on making it to week 3 undefeated.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week, Barberton, let's give a hand for Coach Dave Rock, week 3 of the South Range Coaches Corner. Back